That's
Should
funny.
we let Jesse in? Yeah, we'll let him in. Where is he?
Hey.
What's up, Jesse?
How you doing, Scott?
How you doing, my man? You're looking good.
I'm looking, I don't know if good is the word I would use, but different.
We got Jason Van Camp on the phone, Green Beret. I'll talk about him in a little bit, but I thought he was trying to look like you because he's growing it all out. I mean, he's just gone crazy. But it turns out it's COVID. It wasn't you. So, listen, guys, I know everybody's excited, so we're going to get started right away. This is welcome from Something New. This is another conversation with, which are these kind of intimate Q&A, batted back and forth conversations with incredible people. So we certainly have got one here. It's dizzying to even try to introduce our guest because, is there anybody in the world who's been a rapper, started a sports theme company that he sells to a public company, starts Marquis Jets, sells that to Warren Buffett, starts Zico, sells that to Coca-Cola, greatest public speaker out there, writes a New York Times bestseller, owns the Atlanta Hawks, 4 incredible kids, married to Sarah Blakely, the CEO of Spanx. I don't know what in the world I missed. Ultra endurance athlete, founder of 29029, which we've got a bunch of alums on. We've got Charlie Engel, we've got Laura Gasser Outing. So we've got a bunch on. We've got Crystal. I just saw Crystal pop up. What's up, Crystal? So we are all raising a banana to the man, the myth, the legend, Jesse Itzler. Jesse, thank you. You are absolutely one of my favorite people on the planet. So I appreciate you joining us. And I know we want to get to Q&A pretty quick, but I wanted to open it up by asking a question. I just went through kind of an insane laundry list of stuff that sounds like it would be, a couple people that accomplish that stuff. And it's one guy, and it's so diverse. So I've always thought, Jesse, one of the things that's totally fascinating to me about you is you have no rear view mirror. Like, you're never looking in the rear view mirror. You don't sit on your laurels. You're always iterating and innovating. And I guess, so my question is, where does that desire come from, where you're just always kind of looking for the next thing? I mean, you finish the calendar club, you do something new. You're just constantly pushing. And it's so inspirational. You and I are the same vintage. So it fires me up to see you doing that. But where does that desire come from?
Well, let me first of all, Scott, thanks for having me. I see Rob. I see a lot of familiar faces on here.
A lot.
And yeah, so this is really cool to be here, and I'm happy to talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about, and give my perspective. So I don't know if it is. I'm not an expert on everything, but I'm happy to share what's worked with me and what hasn't. Before I answer that, I just want to say, I almost made me cry going through my little timeline, man. It's an emotional time for everybody. I had a very emotional week. I'm taking what's going on super seriously on every level. So it almost feels uncomfortable to talk about, stuff that's not impacting this country and everybody. But let's put all that aside for this call for a minute and, just focus on this. But it would be a loss to not recognize what's going on. For me, as I look back, I'm going to be 52 years old. I'm super lucky to be in this position. If you would have just flashed back only 30 years ago, not even, I was working at a kiddie pool as a kiddie pool attendant, because I was at the kiddie pool because I wasn't even certified as a lifeguard. I wasn't good enough to pass the test. And then 5 or 6 years later, I had a private jet company, and I had no airplanes, no experience. And we ended up doing, $5 billion in sales, 200 million our first year or two. And so we're all just one idea away from completely changing the trajectory of our life. I'm lucky that I had that idea and that it worked out, or I could be in a completely different scenario than I am right now. I'm mega aware of that. I've been able to navigate many different fields. I started out in music. Then I went to aviation, beverages with coconut water. I'm an author. Some stuff worked, some didn't. But the process has always been the same for me. I want to talk a little bit about that process. And part of that process is my thought process. Even though I have no training, I've always intuitively thought like an entrepreneur. I've always built things with incredible enthusiasm. That's always been the starting point. If I wasn't enthusiastic about it, even if it was going to make me $1 zillion, it wasn't a lane for me. It's always started with an enthusiasm, and I've always been able to keep that enthusiasm to a point that even at Marquis Jet, I left Marquis Jet when we were doing the most in EBITDA, the most profitable time ever is when I left. It's the exact opposite time people would have left.
Okay.
I left because I lost the enthusiasm, and I didn't want to give up my short time on earth, maybe 80 years. Maybe I have 30, 40 years left if everything goes right. I didn't want to give up those precious years, especially my 40s, to do something that I wasn't waking up incredibly enthusiastic about, even if it was rewarding. I'd rather make 25 cents than doing something I love than $1 doing something that I didn't wake up loving. The process has always been around enthusiasm, and that's gotten me through a lot of obstacles. And it might sound obvious and ridiculous and simple, but it's the honest to God truth. So it starts with enthusiasm. I've always gone to the end of the movie. I've always said to myself, without knowing how it would happen, is this something that could be something big, or is this something that could be super rewarding to people? And I've always gone 5 or 10 years out to the end of the movie. Even now, I'm about to buy potentially a water well, a spring, an aquifer. And I don't know anything about the business. Zero. I have done very little research in how the whole thing works. But I go to, would people want fresh water? Can I solve a problem? Could this be something that down the road could have value? Blah, 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 blah. So I fast forward first. And if it feels in my gut like yes, I'm going to figure out how to do it. So that's always been my starting point, is to go to the end of the movie and then fill in the script. But I've always had clarity, a lot of clarity around the end of the movie. Not exactly, but like where it was going. And then, I've always stayed in the game, like no matter what it was. The only difference between me and all the partners, I've had multiple partners along the way that didn't make it to the finish line with me because they could not endure the challenges of being an entrepreneur. And part of thinking like an entrepreneur is being able to handle the lows really well, being able to handle the highs in a humble way and sharing it with as many people. It's allowing people on your team to be heard, giving everybody a voice. It's, being comfortable doing things differently. It's about ripping up a playbook and saying, how would I do this if nobody ever taught me? There's a methodology of thinking like an entrepreneur. And intuitively, with no training skills, I've always relied on that. And that's sort of, in a very short way, without being crazy specific, at least just to kick the conversation off. If I look back on my journey, those have been some of the things that have helped me. And let me just say one thing, Scott, before I open it back up to you. When I talk about like enthusiasm and putting soul into your products, a lot of people rush because they feel like there's a desperation. I've been desperate. Very hard to think clearly when you're spiraling or under pressure. I've always really, you know, and I've rushed too and made a lot of mistakes, but I've always start with, man, pouring my soul into it, you know? And I had one, I've said this on podcasts before recently, but every year I pick one word to describe like how I'm going to do my, it's going to define the year. Last year, that word was soul. Like if I'm going to show up right now with you guys, I have 4 kids here, I have a lot going on, but if I'm dedicated to 45 minutes, I'm going to put my soul into it. If I'm launching a product, it's getting every ounce of my soul. When I'm with my kids, they're getting my soul. I'm teaching my daughter how to ride her bike. My phone isn't there. It's soul. And people are smart, man. You'll be surprised how far soul and passion can take you because it's infectious. Yep. And I think anyone that's an entrepreneur here that's building a company, raising a child, learning a new skill, you are not going to maximize it if you don't have your soul into it. And every project I look back on that worked or didn't work, I can really go back to, did I put my soul into it? Did I cut corners? Did I rush it? Did I put it out too quick? Or did I really say, man, this is done, but how could I make it 10 times better? Because it's that important to me. And those things are different. And it's crystal clear in my life with my book, Living with the Seal versus Living with the Monks. I'll be totally honest. I put every ounce. I could not have written a better book than Living with the Seal. That was the best book. That was the best. I went over it 50,000 freaking times, man, before I handed it in. When they said, no, it's good enough. I'm like, it's good. It's not good enough for me. Now, it's not Moby Dick. It's not the best book ever written, but it's the best book I could have written on the topic. I'm good. Whatever people say on Amazon, good or bad, I can live with it because it's the best I could have done. Living with the Monks, completely different thing. Felt pressure. I had to live up to the first book. I had a deadline. I had a lot of expectations. I had a sales number I had to beat. That's a completely different set of circumstances. So I had a different approach, and it had a lot of soul, but it wasn't the same gut-wrenching everything, and the results aren't equal. So, you know, it's like I can look at examples like that in my life. So the starting point has to be soul.
Love it. Love it. So we're going to do, actually, at the end, we're going to do a little Jesse trivia, and Jesse is going to send the winner some signed copies of his book. So we're going to do that at the very end. So I wanted to kick off the questions, and I'm going to introduce everybody because I really want, you know, we've got a lot of people that come to these and they're the same folks, but I really want you guys to get to know each other and build that community. So I'll kind of give a little intro for everybody and hopefully get as many people in as we possibly can in the limited time we have. Just real quickly to touch on something Jesse said earlier in terms of just kind of the times we're living in. If you go to Jesse's Instagram, I'd really recommend read the letter that he wrote to his kids. It's really powerful, and I think you'll really get a lot out of it. It's fantastic. So our first question is from LGO, Laura Gaster Oding. So she is the author of Limitless bestseller. She is a 29029 alum. You might have seen her on Good Morning America or the Today Show, or she's a rock star. So I know that Laura has a question for you, Jess.
Cool.
Yeah, so Jesse, we actually talked about this a little bit when we were climbing Stratton. I told you about this idea of wonder hell, when you have worked so hard as an entrepreneur that you are just so honored and delighted that anybody wants to spend 5 minutes thinking about or engaging in a thing that you've created. It's wonderful. And also, you've never been so tired in your entire life, right? It's hell. You feel torn in every different direction. And I'm so fascinated about these moments of wonder hell when all of a sudden the view gets bigger, your expanse gets bigger, your ego gets bigger, your burden of potential weighs on you, and you could do even more. And I'm so interested to know what you've learned about yourself in those moments of wonder hell.
Okay, well, let me just start, Laura, by saying that I never look at those things as hell. When I feel overwhelmed as an entrepreneur, or the something breaks or there's a deadline or whatever and it doesn't go as planned, I never look at that as hell. I signed up to be an entrepreneur. Okay. And I recognize, again, thinking like an entrepreneur, that these things happen. So it doesn't mean I'm not upset. I'm human. It doesn't mean that I don't freak out. I do, but I never short circuit to the point like this is hell. I always operate from a place of like, gratitude is an overused word. I wouldn't even call it gratitude. I would just call it like appreciation or opportunity. I don't know, man, but I don't, I've been in situations that are not great. I never say that. I never would say that because I wouldn't give it that kind of power over me. But that's for starters. That is what I signed up to be, the good and the bad. And I recognize that there's going to be a balance, that not every day is going to be Disneyland. So specifically to your question, are you saying would you say the wonder, what do you call it? The wonderful?
Wonder hell. Like, it's amazing. And you are so lucky and privileged, and you've worked so hard, and you're honored that it's wow, amazing. It's working out. And also, maybe I set my sights too low. Like, the burden of potential is only as big as your ego. And you realize you have so much more potential in you than you thought you had when you started on the journey. And what do you learn from yourself in those moments when you realize that there was actually more, that the movie, you were staying to the end of the movie, but the movie actually had an even bigger and better ending than what you might have even have conceived in the beginning?
They're just lessons for me. I mean, I always say to myself, I tell myself all the time that like, I haven't even come close to doing what I want to do, what I'm capable of doing, what I feel I should be doing. And I don't. I think all of us on this call, when we set out, are aligned in certain things. We're all aligned. We might have different views or whatever, but first of all, we all want to feel good. We all want to feel accomplished. And even during the quarantine, I think what was most frustrating for people is creating a sense of accomplishment and not feeling like, oh, I'm blowing this time or I'm not getting enough done. It created a lot of pressure and a lot of frustration, when at the end of the day, we really just want to feel accomplished. I feel like at 52 years old, I don't even know what I want to do for a living. Like I feel so lucky to just have health, have a family, have some resources. And a whole lot of opportunity. So the way that I kind of approach it is, if I fall short of something, I don't really look back on it. It's a lesson. And it's just like, I'm always looking through the front of my door. I don't own a Marquis Jet hat. I don't own a Zico shirt. I have no pictures of famous people that I've been with hanging up all over the place, because to me, all of that is in the past. And the way that I look at it, and again, I don't want to sound repetitive, it's like I'm on this bus ride. I've mentioned this. If anyone seen me speak, we're born and we go on the bus ride, right? And you don't need me to tell you it goes fast. The bus starts moving the day we're born, and it has no brakes. It has no reverse. The bus just keeps going. And all of a sudden you're 20, then you're 30, then you're 40. And the bus doesn't care if you get sick or if you're lazy. It just keeps going. If you take a week off, Jason, if you take a week off, Steve, or Sarah or Crystal, it doesn't care. Your bus just, and then one day it stops. Now, all of this part of my life is done. From 0 to 51 is done. I can't change whether I'm broke, divorced, overweight. What I can worry about, and what we should be worrying about, is from this moment until the bus ride is over. How do we maximize this? That's all we have, and we never know when this is going to happen, when that bus is going to stop. So, I'm trying to provide you guys with tools on this short time that can help you maximize this window, not go back and necessarily change the mistakes. Yes, you can repair relationships. There are things you can go back and fix, but really, how do we maximize this? So all of that stuff, good or bad, it's all in the past. I am just looking at maximizing from today till my bus is over, man, till I'm done. Last year, 6 months ago, I ran a 100-mile run. In 90 days, I ran an 80-mile run, 2 50-mile runs, 10 30-mile runs, and a 100-mile run, okay? I gave it all back 4 months later by eating chocolate and taking my foot off the gas pedal. I gave it all back. I went from 188 pounds to 205 pounds like that. Gave it all back. All that stuff, that hard work or whatever, it means nothing if you release. So my foot's on the gas pedal of life. I'm on the gas pedal. I never think about those races. I don't think about what I did in 2019. It's like I'm really laser focused on what's ahead of me, good or bad. I don't read any reviews anymore. I don't look at my sales numbers for my books. I don't look at my bank account. And I never did. I never did. When I was 21 and had nothing, it was the same process. It's like, okay, man, how do I squeeze it all out of what's ahead of me?
Love it. Love it.
I can't emphasize it enough. Like, I don't care who won the NBA champion. You don't even know who won the championship. Who won the college football championship 4 years ago? Who cares?
Right.
Those teams don't even care anymore. It's like all about, forward. And that's how I live. I don't go back and look at my old photo books.
Love it. So our next question is from another familiar face, Megan Riley. So Megan is the co-founder of Tippy Toes. She's a Shark Tank alum. And if Sarah had given her the deal, I've got to believe she would have stuck with it instead of booting Cuban to the curb.
No regrets.
Megan is absolutely amazing. I don't know if we can talk about the podcast, but Megan, fire away.
What's up, Jesse? How's it going?
Good. Hey, Megan.
Okay, so I'm a fan of your household. So you and Sarah have 4 awesome kids. You have thriving careers. You guys are, building your life resume, but you're also super present parents. As a working mom myself, I love hearing from people like you about how you remain such a hands-on parent while building your life resume at the same time.
Yeah, well, for starters, it's important to me. So if it wasn't important to me, it would probably, it's like the most important thing to me, and I love it. So that's the starting point. But Sarah, look, as you evolve, your system has to evolve. How you live life has to evolve. So like when I was 21 to 30, I ate dinner at 11 o'clock. I lived in New York City. I would order in. I'd have dinner at 11 o'clock. That was my system. I would work out, go back to work, maybe go 11 o'clock, I'd have dinner. Now I eat dinner at 5 o'clock, because as you evolve and you get a wife and other responsibilities and kids, the way you live and operate that system has to evolve with you. Jesse at 50 is a lot different than me at 30. So we have a new system and we work on it. We talk about it, we plan, we schedule, we review, we talk about what's broken. I take inventory on what's working, and I don't have it all right. I don't read to my kids nearly as much as I should. I want to teach them sports way more than I do, although I do. So I have to create fixes. What is going to change in my life to create time and space to do that? So for me, I don't watch like much TV anymore. I kind of like pulled the plug out. So instead of the 2 or 3 hours I was doing watching the Kardashians, I can now spend reading or with my kids. So you have to make a sacrifice. As you get older, creating newness is really hard. As you get older, creating newness is really hard. You have to work hard to introduce newness into your life. You actually have to plan it, because otherwise you're going to work. We're creatures of routine and habit, and you're going to be in routine and you go through life like this. Nobody here wants to go through life like this. We all want to go through life like this. We want to adventure. We want challenge. We don't want to regret, as Laura said, being in the 80% version of ourselves. We want to maximize our tools. We all have different tools. So for us, we sit and we talk, like maybe once a week. And we talk about like what has to happen, what's working, what's not working. We divide and conquer. Like we're very clear about roles and you know, like I want to be remembered not by the world, because no one lives in my house, no one's under my roof but me. No one knows what I do with my kids really other than me, but I want to be remembered by me. I worked really hard, Megan, to bring kids into this world. Like we worked really hard. It was not easy. With that comes a responsibility. Like that's what it goes back to like what Laura said about, oh, this is hell. This is what I signed up for. So if my son is a fever and 3 o'clock in the morning and he wants me to come up and I'm exhausted and I got to talk to Scott's group the next day, I'm going up because that's what I signed up for. I want to remember myself as that guy. It has nothing to do with anybody here. It has nothing to do with Instagram likes. No one's going to know about it, but me and my kids. And so it's important to me.
Yeah.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm thinking of that. One of the things that I struggle with is doing less, because there's no opportunity to me that's not, I want to do everything. And I'm highly ADD, clinical. I juggle a lot of things. But one of the things that's been really hard for me that maybe other people on this call have to get better at too, is saying no. Because little things like, I get a lot of requests for, well, just 10 minutes. Can I have 15? I don't want money, or I just want your advice. That's 15 minutes away from me reading with my kids. 15 minutes a day that's 2 hours a week. You know, over the course of a year, that's 100 hours. That's 4 or 5 days, full days with no sleep that I'm giving to other people. So balancing those requests is really hard, because you want to be approachable and I want to be giving. But at the same time, I don't have 1 kid, I have 4. And so saying no is really important to the things that you want to give to become way more important.
Yeah.
Love it. Next question is from he's trying to be your twin today. I don't know. He's not quite as successful. Jason Van Camp. So Jason is a West Point grad, played football, Green Beret, CEO, and his book, Deliberate Discomfort, is right up your alley, Jess. Totally up your alley. So Jason, fire away.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Appreciate you being on. This is awesome. First question I got is, we talked about not looking in our past, not having photo books, photographs, things like that. Talk to me about what's on your wall behind you. What do you have? What pictures do you have on your wall?
Yeah, so specifically, I have 2 walls. So this wall is a reminder of kind of, I call it my rap wall of fame. So it's just some of my favorite artists. I collect hip hop photography. So that's just something I've been doing. So behind me specifically is Run DMC, who I managed for several years. It's kind of weird when you get to, they were my Beatles. So I got to manage kind of, I don't want to say my idols, but my music inspirations, which was really cool. So I have all these different pictures, but on this wall is my whiteboard. And I have laid out the next 12 months, completely laid them out. I wish I could hold this up, but all of these are calendars. Everywhere you look in my house, I have calendars. I think a lot of time, Jason, I don't wake up and wing it. You know, Scott rattled off a lot of accomplishments. I've had a lot of failures too, but I have tried to, because of 4 kids and multiple businesses and races that I want to do and training, I don't wake up and just wing it. I have a system. I lay out what it is I want to accomplish this year, what trips I want to take, the one-on-one trips I want to take with my kids, date nights. I can go back and tell you last year how many date nights I had. I can tell you how many times I saw my parents, because I scheduled it in advance. So this other wall is my entire kind of outline of my year and what I want to do laid out. And then it goes into my calendar. I teach this process. It's a club I have called the Big Ass Calendar Club, but I'm not here to sell or talk about anything like that. This is just for you guys. But that's what my walls look like. So you might not want to have a system where you lay out the whole year, but I really encourage everybody. We talk about morning routines. I think evening routines are way more important, because in the evening, you lay out what your next day looks like. So today, I'm just following the script that was prepared last night. 12 to 12:45. You guys want to go longer? That's cool. Scott, 1 o'clock, my trainer's coming. Hour and a half, balls to the walls until one of us throws up workout. After that, I'm dead serious. Because if I'm going to work out, if I'm going to be somewhere, goes back to soul. Why would I want to give 80%? Stay home. I don't want to insult him or me. So my whole day is mapped out, and it's made me so much more efficient than waking up like, oh God. Now I'm a mess. I'm also disorganized too. I got notes everywhere. It's almost like a mad scientist kind of thing, but my day is planned. And that's really helped me. I'm glad you asked that question, Jason, because, the reason why I lay out my stuff a year in advance, I think it's really important for us. I'm looking around at all the faces on here, and nobody here's a teenager. Tab, the recruiter, you look super young, but you're not a teenager.
She's 18.
I'm not, I promise. I'm 35.
Okay, that's cool. Larry, you look young too, but you got the beard going. So like me, we probably look a little bit older. But the reality is we're not in the first chapter of our lives anymore. We're professionals. Our window of being relevant is shorter. Like when you're 20, you think you have forever. I realize at 52, like my window of relevance, I hate to say it, man, it almost makes me cry. But I really believe this, and maybe I shouldn't talk it out loud and give it power, but there's just not, don't record this or put this out. I don't want to insult anybody, but this is really true. There's just not a lot of people in their 70s or 80s that I follow on social media that are super relevant, that are climbing mountains that I'm climbing right now, that have podcasts that I'm listening to. I'm sure they're out there, but they're just not in my universe. The window, man, it just shrinks so fast when you hit 50. And I just want to make sure that I maximize the next 10 or 20 years, because it's all I have. That's just the fucking fact. So the only way I can do that is say, God, what is it that I want to do? So when I look back, I don't regret that I haven't done it. I want to do the rim to rim at the Grand Canyon. I want to ride my bike cross country. I want to launch a podcast, whatever it is. And then I plan it. Okay, well, which one of those things am I doing this year? When? And I kind of put those things down, and then I just work backwards. It's the same process for starting a business, right? You get a lot of soul around an idea. Let's say it's running doing rim to rim. You go to the end. Can you see yourself at the finish line, sharing it with everybody? Yes, I can. Okay, now let me figure out how. And let me keep that enthusiasm that I have now throughout the process. So when things like Laura's Day happen and it's a shit storm, I remember how enthusiastic I was in the first place. And I know it sounds simple and it's not easy, but that's just the reality of kind of the starting point of it. So Jason, a long-winded answer to the photos behind me. These are reminders to me. They make me feel good. These guys changed the trajectory of my life as a kid growing up in New York. They changed the way, they opened me up to a whole new world of things that ultimately led to a record deal, led to so much amazing things in my life. So I love that. And then this is a roadmap, a blueprint of what I want to accomplish. And it evolves. But to not have a plan, to go through all of us at this stage and not have clarity. One of the first things I ask people in my course, I ask them, like, if you won the jackpot, if someone gave you $10 million, what would you do? What do you want? What are we working hard for? What are you playing for? And almost everybody does not have an answer. They don't even know what they want. So wait a second, let me get this right. You're working 50 hours a week, maybe 80 hours a week for money, but you don't even know what it is you want. How could you not answer that? You know, I had a friend of mine, he said, I said to him, he said, I really want to, I said, if I get, he was struggling, tough time in his life, he's 53. I said, if Brian, if I gave you 10 million, if someone wired you $10 million tomorrow, what would you do? He goes, oh, I would go to California. I always wanted to live in California. It's my dream. I would go to California. I said, okay. I said, Brian, you're 53. Nobody's wiring you $10 million, man. If you want to go to California and that's your life dream, make a 6-month plan to go to California. Because there's a great chance you won't be able to do it next year, or the time is never going to be perfect or right. Go save up some money, find a friend you can stay with, go whatever, go out, give yourself a year out there. If it doesn't work, come back. But like the time is now. So I feel like there's very little urgency around, we think we have forever. And then we age out of it. We become not relevant. We become the average American, I'm ranting, Scott, I'm sorry, but the average American,
I love it.
The average American gains like 2.5 pounds from 35 to 65. So now you're 50 pounds overweight, you're 70. I mean, come on, man. Come on. You just gotta go. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you gotta start the process. You have to start the process.
Got me fired up, Jess, as usual.
Great answer. That was awesome.
All right, we're going to do our first Jesse trivia, just because he was talking about his past and some of the people that he managed. So, trivia question: you can throw this in the chat. First one to get it wins signed book from Jesse. So, what famous rapper was an intern for Jesse?
Can I hold up the answer?
I don't know who got it first.
Oh, okay.
50 Cent. 50 Cent. Back in the day. When was that, Jess?
Well, you know, I'm so honored, man. 50 just put out a book. He just released his book, and he writes a nice mention of his internship with me in the book. We bartered. This is the craziest thing. 50, he wasn't 50, he was Curtis Jackson. He had no tattoos, he was a boxer. And I shared a desk with Jam Master Jay, who was the DJ from Run DMC, who tragically got killed. But Jay goes, I got this guy, he's a boxer, he wants to be a rapper, he needs some work, can he intern here for the summer? I'm like, yeah. So Curtis comes in, and I was writing theme songs for professional sports teams. So he made me a deal. He's like, look, I'll help you write these jingles for these NBA teams. You know, and in exchange, teach me whatever, let me shadow you, whatever. It's like, cool. So that was our deal. And he interned for me when he was like, I guess he was like 18, 19. We actually put out his first record and did his logo. It was 10 nickels in the shape of a cross, 50 Cent. Anyway, fast forward, 50 had a partner named K-San. And I said to Jay, I'm like, Jay, listen, I know you love 50, but K-San's the talent. This guy's unbelievable. So he's like, well, you sign K-San, I'll sign 50. So I said, all right, fine. I said to K-San. K-San was, I spoke to him yesterday, actually. He's a great friend of mine. He ended up doing 7 years in prison, had a tough road, amazing guy. 50 went on to become 50. Curtis went on to be 50. So obviously I'm not a great judge of talent. But here's the story. Fast forward 10, 15 years later, he becomes super famous. He's on an airplane. I get a list. I have Marquee Jet. I get a passenger list, a manifesto of every flight. And I'm looking every morning. I would look to see who's flying with us. Maybe they're a potential customer, and 50 is a guest on a plane. I'm like, oh my God. So I had the pilot give him a bottle of champagne or something. I wrote him a note. I said, 50, you're never going to believe this, man. This is Jesse Itzler from the Jingle Company. It was called Alphabet City. You're on my airplane. I own this company. And the next day, he wrote in his contract he would only fly with Marquee Jet.
I love it. Love it.
Is that unbelievable, man?
All right, so we're on a roll. So we're gonna do one last Jesse trivia, only because he keeps bringing this stuff up. It's like he's putting the ball on the tee for me. So Jesse wrote a sports jingle that it's like iconic. I think it was the first one that he put out. The answer, though, you gotta sing it. So if you're not willing to sing it, you're not winning.
I know Rob knows this.
Come on, Rob.
Go New York, go New York, go New York, go New York.
Give that man a book. I love it. I love it. All right, Jess, do we have time for one more question?
I got until 1 o'clock till Mark Brown comes in here.
I know. I don't want Mark. I don't want to be on Mark's bad side. All right, so we're going to go to Colonel Sean Corrigan, another West Point grad, and running the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, 30-year career as Army Ranger and Special Ops guy, just amazing. So Sean, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Jesse, really interested in your whiteboard there. I'd love to see that thing and all the intricacies. So on it, what trips and experiences do you have coming up in the next year?
Right. So first of all, Sean, thank you so much, man, for everything you do and have done. Jason, you too, all of our veterans that are on here. So the way that I approach it is every year I try to do, there's an old Japanese ritual called a misogi. And the notion around a misogi, you can Google Kyle Korver, who played for us at the Hawks, Kyle Korver and misogi, and you'll find some articles on this. He's the one who taught me about it. The notion around this Japanese ritual called the misogi is you do one thing once a year, you do one thing that's so big, so hard, so challenging, it impacts you the entire 364 other days of the year. I've taken liberty to kind of change that definition a little bit into doing one thing that kind of defines your year. So Sean, if you had a terrible year, knock on wood, God forbid you got corona or you got sick, or you were out of pocket for a couple of months, or your business was down 30%, you still have one thing that you did that you could be like, in 2019, I accomplished this. 2018, I did this. I think if I were to ask, and I'm not picking on Michael Barron or Brendan or Rob or anyone on this call, if I asked anybody, what did you do in 2010, 11, 12? What did you do 8 days ago? Mostly everybody would not know. But when you think of it in terms of shrink down the years, you probably only remember a handful of big moments or events or things that you did or memories. You know, we have 365 days. We remember like a dozen events, you know? So the first thing I do is I think about what's the one big thing on my calendar. So for me, I like physical challenges. For me, in the next 12-month window, it's a thing called Ultraman. It's a crazy race. That's my one thing that's on my thing. So that I start with putting one thing on my board. Everyone should do this, by the way. You should really try to have one year defining challenge. It could be, I want to learn French. It could be, I'm going to, whatever, run a marathon, stops, whatever, something that you say, this year, this is what I did. And then I have something I call Kevin's rule, which is, I'm not going to go into the background of it, but every other month, so one day or weekend, every other month, I try to do something that I normally would not have done. So instead of watching the Alabama football game, I might take my kids fishing, or I might learn how to kneeboard, or I might go down to the range and learn how to shoot, whatever. Because if you do that consistently for the next 30 years, if I do it from 50 to 80, I will create 150, 5 a year times 30 years, 150 new experiences, moments, skills that I wouldn't have had if I just watched the football game. So the way that I start to attack my year is I pick one big thing, and then I have 5 mini things. Mine are already laid out. right? So one of mine was I got to stay with Wim Hof in Poland. Now, these are extreme, and I'm not suggesting anybody, you know, I'm in a different spot. I'm not trying to, you know, bang my chest. I'm just telling you what I did. I'm going to take my kids. We're going to camp out at Mount Washington. Hey, Mark, in the winter, you know, outside in the snow one weekend. I'm treating my college friends to something, but it could be as simple as I'm going to a conference. I'm going to go on a fishing trip. I'm going to go camping overnight. So if I have one big event on top of work, kids, family, taking care of my parents and all the things that I do, if I have one big event, 5 little adventures, that's the start of an amazing year. And then the third thing I do is I try to introduce one winning habit every month or two. So for me, this I'm still working on this, but I want to drink 100 ounces, so I don't drink enough water, 100 ounces of water a day. If I can do that, and then in the next month or two, I say, you know what, Sean, I'm never going to be late for another meeting again. That's my commitment. Think about this. If everybody on this call did exactly what they did the same over the next 12 months, you guys think you're operating at a high level, that's cool. I'm not here to grade or judge anyone. All I'm saying is if you did exactly what you're doing, everything the same, you cold call, you handle your customers the same, you build your business the same for the next 12 months, but you did one Misogi, one life-changing thing, 5 new adventures, and you added 6 winning habits, how insanely unbelievable would that year be? No, seriously. How unbelievable would that, just layering those 3 simple rules into your life be? So that's the foundation of that board. And then all I did was I broke it down to, that's the starting point. I broke it down to my days. Well, I want to feel like that every day. Okay, let me make a list of everyone should do this. This will take 1 second. What do you love to do? Sean, in a perfect world, if you were retired, what would you do every day? Well, here's what I would do. I would say my prayers in the morning every day when I wake up. I would play with my kids for 15 minutes. I'd take 20 minutes of alone time. I would meditate. I would take a steam. I love cold plunges. I make a master list. I call those my vitamins. People take daily vitamins. Those are my vitamins. They make me feel amazing. Every day I try to take 1 or 2 of those vitamins. I just try to look at that list. They're on that board. And I say, what is going to make sure that I just get a dose of my own high on life vitamins? Today, it's my workout with Mark Brown. I'm taking my kids biking, but I'm checking 2 of those vitamins off my box. Does that make any sense? It's so simple. But what happens is most of us play defense. Our calendars fill up with other people's appointments, scheduling, business meetings, other people's requests. We play defense. Okay, I'll do that. Oh, Leslie, you want 50? Okay, Leslie's got this. We got a lunch meeting here. I got a charity event. I got a wedding to go to. And like we're just playing defense. We're bombarded. I try to play life in offense. What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? Who do I want to be with? How do I spend more time doing what I love to do with who I love to do them with? So those vitamins daily are really important to me. I'm not fucking just saying this, man. This is 40 people here. I'm not trying to, this is just how I do it. This is my system. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying for me, it makes me feel so good. It makes me a better dad. It makes me a better boss because I don't want to resent my wife or my employees or anyone for taking away the things I love to do every day, that list of vitamins. Because I will hate my wife and I will hate my employees. I will hate my customers. But if I get my dose, if I get to work out with Mark Brown and I spend time with my kids and I call my parents and my wife wants to go to the opera, I hate the opera. I'm comfortable going because she's not taking away the stuff I love to do. I've done it. Man, I'm telling you, this is critical. It's critical. You know, Laura asked me early on, like, how do you handle those moments of hell? even in my darkest day at Marquis Jet, and I haven't had dark days like anyone else. I don't have leukemia. I don't have any dark days like people have considered dark days. But when I had challenging work days, I still got my hour running. I still came in fresh. I still had, because let me tell you why. Sean, you know this, those small little victories, checking it off like I did that today, create momentum. There's nothing more powerful than momentum. So if I'm having a tough day and I have personal momentum, I feel accomplished. I use that word again, the feeling of accomplishment, because I have done things that are important to me. I'm going to be way better suited, less tense, less angry, less easy to bite people, because I have done something that I want to do. They asked Richard Branson, what is the most valuable thing he's done towards his success? And his answer was, I've gone to the gym. Now, I don't think he meant lifting weights. And I might have, this is from a second party. So I didn't verify this, but it's a pretty reliable source. And I'm sure there's other things that he's done, maybe business school. I don't know that much about it. But what I think he meant by that was not lifting weights and running every day. It was the discipline around prioritizing himself. Like, I matter to me, man. So if I'm not right, how in the world is my relationship going to be right? How am I going to be a good boss? Let me leave you guys with this. Here's a very simple question you can ask yourself. Would I recommend myself as fill in the blank? Sean, would I recommend myself as a CEO? Would I recommend myself as a dad? Would I recommend myself as a business partner? Would I recommend myself as a speaker? And if the answer is no, well, why not? What do I have to work on? I went side. I had a little altercation, with a business partner of mine. Everything is cool. This is just like in the course of regular business. But I had to ask myself, if this is my fault, I have to fix it. And I went through my checklist of me as a partner. And I was like, you know what? This isn't me. This is not me. This is some other stuff, and that's fine. If it was me, I would say, Sean, you know what? I really thought about this, and I got to get really better at this, and this is what I'm going to do to fix it. Like, that's leadership. That's responsibility. That's being taking control of situations. So I'm certainly not here to preach to you about any kind of leadership. But I'm just saying, these are the things we have to ask ourselves. How do we want to get better? What are we going to do to get better? And it's not reading books. It's not listening to people. It's actually trying things in our own life and seeing like, okay, wow, this resonates with me. This works. I'm going to stick with it. And if it doesn't, all right, this didn't work. I've tried a lot of different things. I started out eating meat. I started out eating processed foods. Now I'm basically a fruitarian, because that's what works best for me. I'm not telling anyone here to be a fruitarian, but I'm just telling you that I've gone through a process of evolution of trying things. So whatever business you're in, whatever you're trying to get out of this call, you got to do it with soul. You have to have some enthusiasm. You have to create momentum. You got to ask yourself the right questions. You got to fix things that are broken, not ignore them. You have to do things that prioritize you, and in my opinion, that make you feel good, that create small wins and momentum, and make you feel more present. Because after my workout with Mark Brown, if my wife wants to talk, I will be where my feet are. Be where your feet are, because I'm not rushing to go exercise with Mark. And here is why. Because my day is mapped out. There is no rush in this conversation. I don't feel distracted. I don't feel like I have to post something on social media. Scott asked me to come chat. I have an hour blocked off. And that's what I'm doing. And when we're done, with all due respect to everybody here, I'm never going to think about this again. Whether you liked it or not, whether you appreciated this, whether you think I'm a jackass or you really enjoyed this, it's irrelevant to me. I'm going to go and try to kick Mark Brown's ass, and he's going to go try to kick my ass. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go to my next thing. Now, things come that disrupt that. Obviously, they get upended, but almost every day, I try to every day I map that out and try to follow the script as best I can. If I get derailed, I try to pick it up the next day.
Jesse, man, we love you, brother. Unbelievable. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to talk to all of us. Nobody like you, my man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Scott, before we hang up, just real quick, I'm launching something called BYLR Radio. I have a course, Build Your Life Resume, but I'm launching a 24-hour stream. And, Megan is someone that I met. I'll close this out in 2 minutes. She DM'd me. I responded. She said I was giving a speech. She was in the town. She came to the speech, never met her, don't know anything about her. Told me she had a podcast after, came over to me that she was doing called Who Is Your Mama? About interviewing people's moms of successful or interesting people and their parenting style and what their kids were like as kids or whatever. And now we're working together. And if she was home watching the Kardashians or just, not starting the process, creating her own luck, putting herself in a position, it wouldn't have happened. So, action. Who cares? The worst thing that could happen is I would have ignored the DM. Now we're in business together. So the window's too short, man, to wait around. It just is. My real message is you just got to go. I don't have anything. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you just got to get in the process and start to go. So I commend Megan for that. And I am so bullish on her show. I love it. She interviewed my mom. It's a gift to my kids. They had this amazing interview from their grandmother who's, going to turn 90. And so I just wanted to point out the steps she took and what it became.
Nobody better.
Appreciate
Megan, you're awesome.
She's the best, man.
She's the best. She's the best. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Give Mark our best, and Meg and I will see you. Meg and I will see you in October.
Chastain Park Hills. It's going down right now.
Go.
All right, guys. Have a good
Thank
luck.
Thank you, Jesse. If everyone wants to stay on for a second, that'd be great.
See you, Rob.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks,
Jess.
Take care.
Bye.
All right.
So we normally don't announce this, but since we have everybody together and we happen to have somebody on the phone, in July, our next guest is none other than Jay Redman, who is an absolute legend. So Jay right there, 20-year Navy SEAL. So this is a homework assignment. Pick up the Trident, pick up Overcome, buy those books, and be ready to get your mind blown by somebody who is truly an American hero. We'll talk more about this, but there was a very famous letter that Jay wrote when he was at Bethesda recouping from just unbelievable, tragedies of war. And, George Bush saw it, and it basically said, don't come in here if you're going to feel sorry for me. And I'm paraphrasing, but Jay is a true American hero. He's going to be joining us in July. So Jesse is a tough act to follow, but I think I picked the right guy in Jay. So Jay, we're pumped up for July. and we'll send out the particulars to everybody. So put it in your calendars. But hopefully you guys enjoyed Jesse. I know, one of the things he talked about was the Misogi. This is true. I know my wife's on the call. Meg and I had an incredible honeymoon to Bora Bora. But we have done every single 29029, either as a participant or a volunteer. And I can tell you that we talk about 29029 constantly. We never talk about our honeymoon to Bora Bora, as wonderful as it was. So this is not an advertisement for 29029, although every single person on this call could do it. And I think it's a life changer. It's literally something Meg and I'm not sure we go a week and we don't talk about it, or we don't talk about somebody that's in that community that we've become super close to. So, I think the world of Jesse. Jesse is just one of those guys that you just can't, there's nobody like him. So I hope you guys enjoyed our time with him, and I really appreciate you guys carving out, the time in your day to join us. So I love this community that we've built. So I would encourage you guys, connect with each other. This is a rock star group that we've got. I mean, we've got unbelievable people. It's very eclectic, tons of different backgrounds, pro sports, Olympics, military, entrepreneurs, you name it. We've got a little bit of everything. So I really appreciate you guys investing your time, connect with each other. If you need anything from me, I'm available. You guys all have my contact info. So have a fantastic rest of the day. And I will see you guys back here in July with Jay. All right, guys.
Thanks so much,
Love
Scott.
you. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Megan.
Great to meet everybody.
Megan.
Bye, Scotty. Bye, all.
Hey, guys. Hey, Pierre.
Thank you. Hey, Stacey.
Apologies that we did not get to everybody's questions. It's hard to put the brakes on Mr. Itzler. So I wasn't gonna throw the emergency brake on him.
It's like waking up a baby. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's a bad idea.
No,
So,
you can't.
you just let him go. You let him go. Why? I basically didn't even have to be here. I could have just flipped the switch and let him go. He's an amazing guy. Chris, what'd you think of living with a seal?
Oh, I loved it.
I think I gave you a money back guarantee that you'd laugh out loud. Did you laugh out loud?
Many times, and I'm just a little bit bummed out that everyone beat me to the trivia questions. I was second in all three trivia questions.
You were right on that, Chris.
That was a lot of fun. That was a blast. Jeff, how you doing?
Good. What's going on, man? Hey, how many other people on this call do the 29029?
Are doing what we're doing right now. So we're doing something called the Ascent right now. So I'm doing it. Kathy's doing it. Tab's doing it. Diane's doing it. Robert, are you doing it?
Oh, you're
okay. You're on mute.
Can't
So there's something called the Ascent that we're doing now, which is just an online 1-month challenge. There was a good amount of people on the call that have done 29029.
So
Crystal, Charlie,
Laura,
LGO, but it's unbelievable. So
yeah, I'll actually, if it happens this year, fingers crossed, since Stratton's about 15 minutes that way, I'll be doing EMS for 29029 this year. So
love it.
Yeah, so we'll have to do a little get together for whoever's there.
I will see you there.
Yeah.
So I am the official dancer at the top of the mountain when I volunteer. And it's not pretty.
Scott, I'm going to give you permission to talk me into doing this.
It's
Everybody loves it.
You will not regret it. It is so much harder than you would think.
No, I don't think so.
It's brutal, but it is
brutal.
It's the best. I mean, we've done Utah, we've done Vermont. It's just, I think even better. I mean, the personal accomplishment that you get is off the charts, but the community of people is, I mean, I have people that I consider like, I would give them the shirt off my back, because I've spent time just on the mountain with them, and they're just such amazing people. You know, people like Charlie, people like Laura, people like Crystal, just amazing people. So the community itself, I would do it just for that. You know, the physical challenge is amazing. It's more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge. It is physical, but it's way more mental. It's just
There's a couple people I know, a friend of mine I knew in high school came back up and did it. And long story short, he wound up, he's a celebrity chef. I didn't even realize he'd written a book, or he did it was part of the Whole 30 and everything like that. So there's a couple people I've seen that are part of that whole event that are just, it's impressive. It's a pretty cool event.
Yeah, I mean, you've got people, I think her name's Sona Patel. She has a prosthetic. She does it pretty much every year. She's amazing. There's a team that comes in from Texas that are out of control. If you want to Google somebody, Google Wooch, W-O-O-C-H. He's a Spartan, and when they had the Spartan stuff on TV, he was the guy wearing a thong. But he brings about, I don't know, 30 people, and guy's an absolute beast. But the nicest guy you could ever meet.
There's a guy who does it, who lost it. He's a local, he was a mountain bike coach for my daughter's high school. And he lost his leg to cancer, super fit guy. And one night, my wife and I went over for a beer at Magic, which is right around the corner here.
Yeah.
And we're looking out the window and it's snowing. And this guy comes in on crutches, pops his crutches off, takes two crutches with skis. He's got one leg, and he starts in the dark, headlamp, skinning up the mountain. And I'm like, I gotta hear this guy's story, because that is, I mean, hardcore. And sure enough, he just disappeared into the dark going up the mountain. And I think he does 29 or 29.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I got no excuses here. This is unbelievable.
You got to do it. Everybody should do it. It's a good one to put on your calendar, and they do an amazing job. Rob Anderson has done Hell on the Hill. I don't know how many times. How many times have you done it?
Six, or five times. Five? I think five.
So
yeah,
five times running up and down Jesse's insane backyard in Connecticut, 100 times up, 100 times down. It's just nuts. But yeah. So
same group of people, yeah. Same group of people that you're talking about.
It's the same crew. Tim Snee, the Nealons, that whole crew. But again, just the best people out there. Well, thank you guys.
This is awesome. Thanks, man.
Everybody had fun?
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
I private messaged Kathy. I was like, I think I'm crying right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't even with Jesse. He's so compelling. I mean, seeing him in person at Hypergrowth, watching him here, like he just, man.
Passion.
He's the real. Yeah. He's the real deal. The first time we really spent any time with him, we're in a tent. Meg and I are in a tent, and there's a tent next to us, and there's like laundry and dirty clothes hanging by the tent ropes, and you can hear kids in the tent, and it's like, we're like, who are our neighbors? And our neighbors were Jesse and Sarah, and their 4 kids, who at the time were even younger. But yeah, Jesse's, plain white t-shirts, dirty t-shirts, hanging out to dry. He's the real deal. There's no false pretenses.
I went inside for most of the call so that my kids could hear in the background. You'll see a shot of my son shirtless, kind of not realize he's on camera for a minute, but yeah, it's good for them to hear too, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't even believe when he swore, so I don't know what that says, but.
Yeah. He's a great guy. So thanks again, guys. Hope everybody has an awesome day. Thank you to my team. Drew, we didn't get to talk, but I see your name.
Yeah, sorry. I think I was.
What's up, Drew?
Hey,
Drew.
Hey.
Hi, guys. Thanks again, Scott.
I think I missed it.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Reggie.
Scott.
Nice to see you.
Hi, guys.
Drew, how's you're in Nashville, right?
Yeah.
How's Nashville?
Not bad. I'm just out for a run. I was out for a run right now, so I got caught the end when I was listening.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah, but it's not bad. It's not bad. My sister's a police officer, so she's been kind of caught up in the middle of all this stuff. So it's been a little weird, but yeah. How was the whole thing?
It was great. Yeah, Jesse's the best. So
Drew, we'll send you the recording too when we
Yeah.
get it processed.
Enjoy the run, and we definitely I need to catch up with you at some point. So we'll have to get something on the calendar.
All right, cool. Sure thing.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew.
All right, see you.
Rob, what's on the agenda?
I finished my book yesterday, so I'm super stoked about that. So right now I had a morning workout, had a morning call, and now I'm going to dig back into this book and start the editing process, and then I'm going to connect with an editor and get that over to him or her once that process is finalized. And then it's moving on to the process of getting these training programs into the hands of travel teams and continue to make those connections that are really going to not just empower and change those kids, but really change those households from a mindset, nutrition, and training and physical training spots. So that's the agenda for the rest of the day, at least until 5. And then I got some shooting and training with our 14-year-old. So that's the deal.
Nice. Great shirt. I love the shirt.
I love it.
Yeah, I love your shirt too. I was going to say that.
Thank you. I have a handful of them. And this actually is from Ed O'Keefe, who is, I consider him to be one of my mentors.
He's amazing.
And he's still, I consider him a friend and a mentor, and I'm super grateful for him. And he handed out this shirt at his event. So I have all his shirts, and this is definitely stayed at the top of the rotation for sure.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Amazing.
All right, guys. I'm gonna bounce. We'll see ya.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.